Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach, and as you can see, things are different. It's a different view for me in a lot of ways. This is a different view for me. I have a lot of new things in my life, and I apologize in advance if my video is a little out of sync with audio. I have a whole new system here, and I was playing around with OBS, trying to get it so that it wasn't as laggy. I mean, this is a beefy new laptop that I have, but for some reason the video seems a little bit of lagging. I might move to using Camtasia once I figure out what the licensing is around that. That's what I've been using for editing my videos, but I wasn't using it for recording, and I may do that if it turns out to be a better option than OBS. We'll see. So I apologize in advance if what I'm saying and what the video is a little out of sync, but that's just the way it is. So why is everything different? Why is the view behind me different? Why am I on a different laptop? Well, I have a new job. So after 20 years of working at the same place, which was Magenic, there's no reason to hide the name. I didn't leave burning bridges and, as I told some people, middle fingers ablaze. It was not a bitter end. It was a very amicable end, if that's the right word. And it was completely my choice, and and decided to go somewhere else, which I'll explain in a moment. But yeah, I after 20 years of being at the same place, and at some points in my life, I thought I might be there until I retire, and hopefully I retire before I die. But yeah, I thought maybe I would work there throughout my career. And truth be told, about a couple years ago, I started to have some doubts, some thoughts, some things that was rolling around in my head about what did I want to do with the rest of my career. And what did I really enjoy doing? And, why did I decide to leave 20 years of seniority and with a company that's been around 25 years and move on when there's COVID-19, there's extreme political and social unrest in this country? These are very trying times. And so why did I leave? And it came down to a couple of reasons. One, the position that I had wasn't really panning out to what I was hoping it would be. So it was a position that I took 7 years ago, and I thought it was something that was very appealing to me. It seemed to speak to the things that I enjoy doing and what I have passions for. And over time, it just turned out not to be so much. And that was a little disappointing. I think the other one, though, is, and to be clear, again, this isn't like I left in a very angry state. It was just, well, I needed to make a decision in terms of what I'm going to do with my life and my career. So the other one is I think I got kind of tired of consulting. I had been doing consulting since 1997, so even like 3 or 4 years before I joined Magenic, and I always loved being a consultant in the sense that you have to think about how you're communicating your ideas, how you're presenting them to clients, where they have different corporate cultures, different people there, different players. They don't know you from anybody. The technology stacks and their issues that they have are always, there's similarities, but also differences. And for the longest time, I enjoyed that. There's so many companies and so many different verticals that I've worked at throughout, not just at Magenic, but my entire career. And that kind of experience to me is extremely invaluable. And I'm glad that I have that. But I started to get to the point where I also said, at my age, I don't want to become complacent. I don't want to become in a mindset where I end up saying, well, this is the way we always do it, and I don't want to ever change my views or my perceptions of things. I want to be challenged. I want to have that in my career. But what I was starting to get tired of is just, we have a client, they need a role filled, you go fill the role. And that was, it was starting to feel a little impersonal. And then you have to, in a way, you almost have to start all over again. And with some clients, they may get to know you really well. And other clients that are really, really big, you're kind of a cog in a machine. And it starts to feel like you don't get to really make great relationships and things like that. So, so in general, it was just kind of a dissatisfaction of the role that I was in, and also just consulting in general. So when I started to look, I did look at a couple of other consulting companies, but as I soon realized, why am I doing this? It's just because that's what I'm comfortable with, and that's what I kind of gravitated towards. But I don't know if it would have taken them, if there would have ever been an offer, because I kind of said, that's not really what I want to do. It's not that appealing to me. So when I announced that I left, everybody said, "Were you going to Microsoft?" So, which was a thought. I did actually try to entertain that idea, but for reasons it just didn't pan out. What did pan out is my new employer, which is Quicken Loans. So why Quicken Loans? Why would I go to Quicken Loans? And even I sat there and go, why Quicken Loans? Of all the companies that are out there, why would I go to a mortgage company? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One is that I've known a couple people that have worked there, and they've always seemed to say, I like it. They say the company's great, the culture is great, and I just enjoy what I do. And also the people that I know are all working remotely. They're not working in Detroit, or there's Arizona, and there's another, I think Cleveland. And there's also this whole family of companies. It's not just Quicken Loans. There's a whole bunch of companies that are in this thing called the family of companies. But the friends that I have, they seem to just like what they did, and they were enjoying their work-life balance, and so I noticed that, and that's important to me. I have wife and 2 kids, and now 3 cats, because we just got a third yesterday, a little kitten called Sully. So we're slowly acclimating him to our 2 cats. We'll see how that goes. But I have a home. I have a family. I have a place where I live, and I've been here for 20 years. And quite frankly, I have no intentions of ever wanting to move. I want to stay here, So, so that was kind of appealing to me. And then when I was speaking at VS Live Las Vegas, I will get to some code here in a little bit. I just want to explain all this. When I went to VS Live Las Vegas, which was really the last time I spoke this year in person at a conference, which I really miss, by the way. I have to say, I've done a couple of virtual user groups, and they're fine, and I hope people got something out of it. But there's also part of me that goes, why don't I just record the talk and then a user group can play it? Because you don't get the same interaction. You don't get the same, to me, virtual conferences have to figure out how to make it a unique event in some way, shape, or form. And I've so far not seen that really happen. That's kind of a side issue, but in any event, I've tried that, and it's just not the same thing. As much as I like working from home and working remotely, there is something to be said for occasionally meeting with people face to face and having those interactions. So I was at Las Vegas, ran into Ted Neward, who I've known for God, at least 15 years. And we just started chatting, and he asked me, how are things going? And I must have said something or had a look on my face because I had, not to put too fine of a point on it, but I got kind of a stated direction on speaking at conferences that I was not entirely happy with. And so I talked to him, just made a comment about that. And he looked at me and said, that sounds interesting. It sounds like you're not that happy. And I said, well, not, as we say in Minnesota, yeah, it's interesting. And he said, you want to go talk for a while? I said, yeah, let's do that. So we actually went off into a corner and talked for about an hour. And I knew he had gone to Quicken Loans, and which also to me was kind of like an interesting choice. Like, why did you do this? But he was explaining that he's trying to build this whole developer relations, developer advocacy, tech culture, all this stuff that he's now kind of head of, and he's trying to build there. That's appealing to me. So I said, well, are there any possibilities? And long story short, went through the interview process. I actually said no at first purely because of the culture of or not the culture, but the climate of the world right now with COVID-19, with the social injustice and the political upheavals and everything else that's going on, not just in the United States, but kind of in the world. It's very unnerving, to say the least. And I said to Woody, Chris Woodruff, who's my boss now, I said, it's not you at all. It's not Quicken Loans. It's the world as it is. I kind of felt it was not the safest move to leave. But things quickly changed even more. And I came back and I said, hey, if there's still a position, I'm interested. So there was one, and they made it work, and now I'm there. So yeah, so it wasn't like I was unhappy with anything that they were offering. In fact, it was a very appealing thing. That's why I'm there now. It just was purely the world. If the world wasn't as it is right now, that would have made the decision much easier. It would have been a yes. It would have been very simple. But that complicated a lot of things. But I came to the conclusion of this whole world is unstable, and it's in a time of big change. And if you follow me on Twitter, I don't want to get into, well, I've been trying to keep things non-political and keep it very tech focused in this talk, but I definitely have my doubts as to the leadership in this country, and it's something that I think also does not help to the demands and concerns of the citizens of this country. There are things that have to change, and there's things that have to be addressed, and I just don't think that they're being done very well. So that doesn't help either. All that made it so I initially said no, but things changed, and I don't want to say how, but I quickly realized, because my wife noticed, you suddenly seem very short with the way things are going at your client. And I'm like, yep, I think I've realized that I kind of made a mistake and I should have said yes. So went back to Chris, went back to Woody, and said, even if that's not available, if there's other things that might be available, I'm willing to listen. And fortunately, this developer advocate position was still open, and so now I'm there. And so the reason why I'm facing this way is because over here I got two huge monitors and my laptop, and the way my desk worked, I had to take out a middle barrier wall and shelves and everything, and it's still not quite the way I wanted. I want to have the monitors up even a little bit higher, but there was no way I could put it here. This view that you're seeing is where I would put a client computer when I was working on Magenic, and then the laptop was over there, and then I record over there. This is also something that I think forced me to have a very good separation between work and my personal work in my life. So this is my own laptop now, and I finally decided to buy my own. And it just works better that this is now facing this way. So so we'll have to play with this view and see how things work with it, with the window here. But I kind of like this better, actually. I think this view is going to work better. Now the table that I'm on here, I'm just going to move, like if I'm moving around, it's a little shaky. I actually moved it, as I've noticed here, that's touching the desk. So that's, I think, minimizing the instability a little bit, but it is a little shaky. I have a new table on order, and it's a wooden table. It's not like this is a card table, a foldable card table. So it's not the most stable thing in the world. And so if I'm recording video, I obviously don't want it shaking, which when it was on my desk is extremely stable. And I'm hoping that the table that I get is also along the same lines of being stable, because I don't want to be typing and you feel like I'm in an earthquake as I'm doing my stuff. So I probably won't record a lot of videos this way until I get the final table and I get the Camtasia software and you know, get into more of a routine again. So it'll take a couple of weeks, but I kind of knew this was coming. So I had, you know, when you see this video, it'll be August, and I have a backlog of videos all the way through the first week of August, I think. So that comes up really quick, though. I've done that before where I do like 2 months of videos, and then I kind of go, oh, I don't have to do anything, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, it's coming up quick. So I have to start making more just to get that buffer in there. But hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, I'll have everything really set up the way I want it in here for recording as well, and then start doing more videos. It's been a nice reprieve. It's been a nice break, because the role that I have now, it's nothing like what I've done before, where I'm on a project and you're coding and you're doing sprints and everything else. It's a very different thing, and I'm still kind of wading my way through the water, so to speak, and figuring out what is it that I'm going to be working on, and it's kind of a slow process right now. It'll pick up. It's going to pick up. I know that, but it is very much a different role. It's not like a developer lead or a coder on a project. It is a very different aspect to it, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to learning a lot about developer relations, about refining public speaking and what does that mean, and all that stuff, and it'll be fun. So, but I'm definitely going to keep up with all my side projects, and having that reprieve of not doing anything for a little while was good, but now I'm getting to the point of I need to start getting back into code. I could never not code. I think I've said this before. I have to do it. It has to be a part of my life, because if it isn't, I feel like I'm missing out on a lot of things. So, so yeah, that's the explanation behind the whole new world. So in the remaining time that I have in this video, I want to show a couple things, and I will try not to be shaky. I really won't. One of the things I added before the transition happened was adding debugging to Dubsharp. So I watched Emo's video on adding it in, and I think he added a bound sequence point statement to his approach. And what I realized is, because Dubsharp is like very line driven, then there's really no variables to speak of in terms of putting breakpoints on them or anything like that. I kind of went, you know, all I need to do is add a breakpoint around a whole line in general. Okay, and it's also funny because there's no deterministic way to know which line is going to be executed. So you really almost have to put a break. Well, it depends on what you're doing, but you don't know when the breakpoint's going to be hit. So in any event, what I decided to do is, in the emit line methods here, is I have a flag now that says, are you going to be doing debugging? And so I essentially put a sequence point around the entire line. Okay, and that's it. All right. Now, one thing I did not do is, let's see here. you're going to see Jason do this in adding an existing repository from your hard drive. Choose. Okay, so it took a little, because I also used to, well, still do have an external drive, and that's what I was doing when we work on. I am moving everything to the drive I have on the laptop, and I'm also going through and backing up everything on OneDrive, which is taking days because it's just so much stuff. But once I have that, then that'll be good, because then I have everything backed up to the cloud, and if I ever had to wipe the machine, at least I have everything local, so, or at least have everything backed up, and I could bring things down as needed. So in any event, I had to remember, where in the world did I have where did I put the code? Where am I putting the code now? Because the code I don't put in OneDrive. Any projects, I'm just going to make repositories in GitHub, that even if I don't have them, because I have a whole bunch of stuff in that folder that is actually not backed up to GitHub, but there are like years of old code ideas. I might just go through those one day and say, which ones do I want to actually back up as a repo, and which ones do I, even if it's private ones, and which ones do I just want to delete and get rid of. But that's a different story. So in here, okay, where was I? I was here. Oh yeah, because I'm going to do a couple of updates. We'll get to that in a moment. But to actually show this, what I want to do is again, I apologize for the shaky, if that's what you're seeing right now. Let's go into 2019. This was a trick that I saw from Immo, and that you can actually just drag and drop a executable into Visual. And by the way, if the screen fades in and out, that's also something I'm kind of struggling with, in that there seems to be some adaptive brightness going on with the screen, and I have gone through the BIOS, I've gone through settings, I've actually done a ticket because this is a Dell, with Dell, and nothing seems to fix this other than changing the video driver to a generic one, and then things don't really quite look as nice or whatever. So yeah, and I know I'm not the only one with the model that I have, that I've seen online other people have the same issue. So in any event, let's drag this into here, okay? And then I need to say properties, if I remember right, we need to also have the debugger type be core CLR, okay? And I think that's enough. Yeah, okay. Now I also want to open the Dubsharp file, and I'm just going to put a breakpoint here, okay? And now I just say run. And if all goes well, boom, I have a breakpoint. So what might have happened actually is that these lines got hit here, but I didn't see them, okay? Because they all get deferred until you hit this line of code. Now what I can do is put a breakpoint here, and so every time I get to take one down and pass it around, if I come back here, is this the right one? Yeah, so now we see that I'm hitting F5, right? Yeah, okay, so it is moving. You can also see down below here actions. That's the actual execution engine. So you can see all the stuff there, like how many lines we have. For this line, that's the key, that's the value, so that's the count, we see 97. So you can actually go through and then see the engine itself as it's running. So that's kind of cool. I have to admit, when I finally got this working, I went, ha ha. So it was kind of fun to do that. So we have debugging support now in Dubsharp. And this is as far as I want to go with it. I thought maybe I could actually put like a debug symbol around this or something like, or I'm sorry, it would be this. But I said, you know what? No, let's not get that fancy. Because and trying to add a debug or breakpoint in Visual Studio was also a little like, could I actually do that? I think you can, but I'm not sure. But for now, this was good enough. So we have debugging support. Okay, so let's actually address these other two things. They should be pretty simple. Let's actually close this because we don't need to save it. Let's come into here, and this is 30. So we'll make 30 minor revisions because it's early in the morning. And I'm hoping also that by having everything on my machine and not on a local drive or on an external drive, that I won't keep getting these temp file issues that I was seeing in some of the projects here. And I know you've seen, if you watch my videos, me complaining about this. Yeah, all these, let's get rid of all the things. Okay, clean this up, and let's hope we never, ever, 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 ever see this crap again. And I've also, you know, that's one other thing too about having my own machine and my own account now and everything else. And it's been a good thing, is being at a company for 20 years that really didn't have much of a say, or didn't really say much, that's probably the right way to say it, of using the laptop for side projects or whatever, was kind of a, and I probably ended up using my Magenic email for things like my kids' school updates or whatever. And so this has also been good because it's forced me to do a lot of separation of concerns. Works that way. This is my personal life, and the twain shall not meet. And that's, I think, ended up being a very good thing for me to refocus that. So, all right. So we're good here. So the thing I wanted to find was optimize macros. Yeah. So there's two places where this is happening, which is actually kind of surprising. Oh, because we have the main method and we have the line method. Okay, so the first thing is, as I was watching Emil's videos, that you really want to call optimize. So apparently what optimize does is it calls optimize macros, but it also calls things that actually end up doing some things with instructions and shortens them as well. So you want to call optimize. You don't want to call optimize macros. Okay, so that's a simple one. Nothing should really change by doing that. So in fact, because I don't have actually tests around the emitter yet, we have to kind of do the developer command line prompt and then go to C. No, not save games. Source repos. Okay. So it should be source. Repos, Dubsharp, samples, playground, dir. Okay, so we should be able to say here .NET run. I don't care about the actual code and what it does. I just wanted for it to actually compile and work. And let's see if it actually does. And it does. So that didn't affect anything. Yay. The other thing I wanted to do, and this is just kind of an interesting idea, is I think Emil was looking at the source code in Cecil. He was looking at what Optimize does, and notice that they use, for extension methods, self rather than this. So what do I mean by that? If I try to find this, find all. This is a thing I've done for years. It's a naming convention. That's all it is. Go away. For some reason, Visual Studio doesn't have all my setup things. I like everything this way. For whatever reason, I've always done at this, because then it feels like I'm doing this. But you can't use this because this is a keyword. So if you put the at in front of it, that allows you to use a reserved word or a keyword wherever you want. Okay. I have to admit, though, that this feels a little awkward. So one of the ideas that they showed is self. So self is a keyword, I believe, in Smalltalk, and there's actually a language called self, which is, I think, a derivative of Smalltalk, but it's just a way to refer to the object instance. So in VB, it's me. In C#, it's this. So I thought, well, maybe should we call it self? So let's do EFS. And let's say file types. No. Not bin. We would just want to focus on CS. No, no, no. Okay. So we want to replace this with self. Match case, match whole word only. Okay. Replace all. Thank you. So if self is null, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to keep this for now because, turn all the tests. I'm going to keep this for now because I think this is a little, it's a different way because I don't have to do the add this all the time. And, yeah, I'll test pass. It's just a name, so I would have been surprised if anything failed. I think I'm going to keep this in the code base for now. Maybe I'll learn to love this and keep this idea. So we're just going to keep it as self. There's a thought that just went through my head though, and I wish I had it. Oh yeah. Let's go and just do all the NuGet packages and see if there's any updates since I've done pre-release. I don't want to update to any of those. I do want to do dragon fruit, so we'll update that one. I accept. Okay, and because I'm a moron, developer command, and I have to get to using samples. There we go. .NET. I have to get used to the terminal. I have to actually just use the terminal, Jason. Use the terminal. Okay. All right, that worked. Okay, so I will check that in and leave it at that. I'm at time, so we'll get used to the new world here, and I need to get back into doing some of my projects. The one I really want to focus on, I have a half-day seminar coming up in July on doing testing in .NET, so I need to spend some time working on that and get that all ready to go and updated and have that good to go. So that's going to be somewhat of my focus. But I also want to spend some time on really diving into source generators for rocks. I really want to explore the idea of having the mocks generated as source generators and having that all done that way, because I think that'll be a much cleaner solution, and that will take some effort, but I think it will be fun. So thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.